Hey guys, TK here. I thought I'd make a quick video on sustaining maps, T16 Elder Maps to be specific. I had a couple of people ask me recently about what I'm doing to sustain this league with the introduction of Scarabs. But Scarabs I find are they're very good for sustain, especially the cartography Scarabs. The gilded and even the polished and the rust that are very useful as well. But they're pretty expensive, they're difficult to buy in bulk, and they're generally more expensive if you try and buy them in bulk. So they're annoying to purchase, and yeah, I don't use them because I find that I really just don't need them. I did initially use them to sort of build up my map pool a little bit, but even then I was only using sort of one every 10 maps, 15 maps. If I got a good sextant or if it was a really nice map roll or something like that, I'd use a couple, but generally these days I don't use them at all, and I'm still over sustaining, so just thought I'd go through what I am doing to sustain and hopefully give you guys a little bit of confidence to sustain your own maps if you're not already doing that. So let's get right into it. Let's start by going through how I roll my maps, because that is a big part of sustaining. I roll them in sets of 72 because that's how many fit in a map tab. And what I'll do is I'll put them all in. So these are already rolled and I'm halfway through this set. But I'll put them all in. They'll all be normal rarity. If I have any magic or rare maps already, I tend to just put them in my extra Elder Toxic sort of thing, because it's like budget gameplay. It saves me the tiniest little bit of currency in that I don't have to scour the maps before I chisel them. Which leads me to chiseling. Hello segue. So I do chisel all my maps. They're all 20% quality, as you can see. Every percent of quality gives you 1% quantity on the map as well. So 20% qual gives 20% quant, essentially, which is good for map sustain, very good overall, and you'll definitely notice a difference over the course of a set of maps. Chiseling versus non-chiseling, so I definitely recommend chiseling your maps. Chisels aren't too expensive at the moment either, so that's a bonus. Once I've done that, I'll type in, or if you want to make sure you get them all, you can type 20% or 20 or even 20%. Just 20 works fine as well. And just to highlight all the ones that have 20% quality so you know that you get them all without having to check them all individually. And I'll type rare and I'll go through and I'll alch every single one of them so that they're all highlighted. And then I'll type TITY colon space +8 in the quotation marks. So I search for the titties, but don't tell my mum. And this will highlight every map that has 80 to 89% quantity. So I'll take all of these ones out. I won't take every single one of these ones out because I've already rolled these ones, so I don't need to. And then once I've got all of them out in my inventory, I'll replace the 8 with a 9, and then I'll highlight 90 to 99% quality maps, or quantity maps, sorry. And then I'll replace it with a 1, which will highlight every map that has 100% or more quant. And I'll take all of those ones out as well. Once I've done that, well, first of all, I should have copied that text, the titty text, because I'll need that again later. But I type in Beyond. I like Beyond maps because I use a headhunter. If you don't use a headhunter, it's probably not worth getting the Beyonds out unless you're really going for the experience. Beyonds do give nice experience, but overall, for the average player, I would say that it's not worth running unless you have a headhunter. Even then, it's just a personal preference. I enjoy the Beyond maps, even though they do have less quant. As you can see here, this one only has 63, 72 on this one. Some of them do have like 80+% quant, but it's more common to get the sort of the lower quant ones with Beyond. And yeah, I save those ones as well. So once I've done that, I just type in rare again, so I know that I've got out every single map that I want to run from the ones I've rolled. So I type in rare and I go through and I scour them so that none of them are highlighted, and then I'll go through and alch them again so that they're all highlighted, so I know that they're all rare again and they've all been re-rolled. And then I'll just rinse and repeat. I'll look for the titties, 8, and I'll get all these ones out, and I'll go +9, and essentially I just repeat the process until all of them are rolled the way I want them, and then I'll put them all back in here. At this stage, if you have any map mods that you can't run, a lot of people can't do reflect, or no regen, or no leech is a big one as well on red maps, then this is the sort of time where you want to re-roll those. Although do keep in mind that you do get a lot of the no reflect taken sextant, which means you can run reflect maps. So I would probably keep the no reflect maps, but just put them off to the side, maybe in your inventory, so that you know which ones exactly they are for this next step. Once you have, once you've gotten rid of all the no leech and no regen maps, if you can't run those, my build actually doesn't have any mods that it can't run, so I don't worry about this step. It is an important one for most builds. But once you've got all of that sorted out, and either re-rolled or just put the reflect ones in your inventory, you want to go through and search for, well, this is what I do. I search for maps with 100% or more quantity already, and I take those out, I put them in my inventory, keep them separate to maybe put the reflect ones like over here on the side, and then put the plus 100% quant here. You shouldn't get too many, so they shouldn't like merge, meet in the middle. And then I get the Beyond ones out as well, because I personally love Beyond, and I don't want to lose my Beyond on my maps. Once I've got them all out, let's say that's all of them, I'll just type in Karu, or Corrupt, or Corrupted, or whatever, and I'll go through and I'll corrupt all the maps that are remaining in here. And then I'll put all of these ones back, and I'm pretty much done at this stage. I get all my unID'd maps, corrupted unidentified. When a map goes corrupted unidentified, it keeps the same mods on it that it had before it was corrupted. So you're never going to get a map that corrupts into a reflect map that wasn't already a reflect map, or into a no regen map, or no leech, or whatever. So you don't have to worry about that happening. I put all my unID'd maps over on the right hand side, because I like to save them for the unidentified sextant, which is this one here. Found items drop identified unidentified maps. That first line, it's pretty horrible. You don't really want to do identified maps with this sextant. The juice is in the second and the third line, or rather the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, I suppose. Wait, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, which gives quantity and pack size in unidentified maps, and that's very juicy. I'd say that's probably one of the best sextants you can get, as long as you do have the unidentified maps. So I put them all over here. I generally get about 15, give or take, in a set of 72, and I've almost used up all of my unidentified maps for this set already. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm ready to go after that, once I've got them all sorted out, and ready to actually get into the mapping. Usually the whole process, once you get it down, it takes me about, usually only a couple of minutes, maybe sort of 3 or 4 minutes to roll the set, as long as I don't have to re-roll too many maps. It does get a little bit fiddly sometimes, but once you get the process down, it becomes very sort of polished, and you get a lot quicker at it. What else do I do for sustain? So the next step is probably sextants. I do run 4 sextants, which is the max amount. If you don't have a 4th, you might be missing a map on either the whites or the yellows, or you haven't done Uber Elder, which is the Finnish Zana's quest line. You get an extra sextant for that. If you haven't done that, then I suggest doing that, because you do want the 4 sextants for the sustain. Pretty important. You can buy Uber Elder carries. They're not too expensive at this stage of the league. Probably get it for, maybe 40 or 50 chaos, if you find the right person. Yeah, so I'd suggest getting that done. if you haven't already. I do run Elder Blob. On Toxic Sewers, it's very easy to sustain the Elder Blob because it comes in from both, it's connected to both Wharf and Temple. I won't talk too much about how to sustain or set up the Elder Blob. There are plenty of videos out there, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you post below, or you can come into my Discord. I'm always on Discord, or you can come into my stream, and happy to ask any questions there. But Elder Blob is very nice for sustain, especially on a map like Toxic Sewers, which doesn't have a lot of inherent density. Like something like Moon Temple, for example, or the all-time classic Underground Seas, or even Cells or Estuary, where is it there? Something like that. These maps do have a lot of inherent density and pack size, a lot of mobs in the maps already. But something like Toxic Sewers do sort of do this thing where if a map's really easy to run, if it's sort of linear, there's not too many like side areas, that sort of stuff. It's the easier it is to run, the less sort of inherent density it has, which is understandable. Kind of annoying sometimes. So that's why I run Elder Blob on Toxic Sewers. I was running Elder Moon Temples for a little while. I decided I didn't like the layout as much as Toxic Sewers, so I switched to Toxic Sewers. But I wasn't running an Elder Blob when I was running Moon Temples, and I was sustaining just fine. There was no issues whatsoever. Let's talk about prophecies. This is where a lot of my juice comes from. So originally I was running just Plague of Rats, and I was finding that it was proccing in maybe 1 every 3 maps on average, which is fine, but I decided that I wanted a little bit more juice, so I started running the Hungering Swarm as well. And then from there I've just started trying out a 3rd prophecy, which is the Cursed Choir, and I'm really liking 3 prophecies at the moment, but realistically speaking you only need 2, or even you can even get by on 1. But prophecies are pretty important if you want to sustain a map that doesn't have high inherent density like Toxic Sewers. It sounds annoying to sort of use prophecies, and I was very hesitant at first, but as soon as I started using them I loved it. It is actually very easy to do, and it's not too annoying in general at all. The only annoying thing I would say is if I have to run a map for influence, then I want to seal my prophecies so that they don't proc on that influence map, because I don't want to waste them. But apart from that, very easy, very not annoying, and very juicy for the sustain. Keep in mind that Plague of Rats is for indoor maps, and Plague of Frogs, where is it? Here, is for outdoor maps. So also some maps that you think are indoor are actually outdoor, or vice versa. For example, Burial Chambers, which is 90% outdoor, is actually classified as an indoor map, so you'll use Plague of Rats on Burial Chambers as opposed to Plague of Frogs. Same thing with Moon Temple. I've actually bought all of these Plague of Frogs because I thought Moon Temple, I just assumed it was going to be an outdoor map because it looks like an outdoor layout, or at least it does to me. So I bought all of these Plague of Frogs, and then I found out that they weren't proccing, so I put it in a Plague of Rats and it procced. So it is actually an indoor map, but I think you can check on the wiki if you're not sure. I think it usually tells you if a map's indoor or outdoor. And then Hungering Swarm and Cursed Choir both proc on any type of map, so you don't need to worry about indoor or outdoor for those. What else am I going to talk about? I think that's pretty much it. Harbinger. I do run Harbinger on every map, and I put in 1 sack piece on every map. If you put, so I've already run, so obviously sextants are in sets of 3. I've got 2 uses remaining, which means I've already done 1 map in this set. And originally, when I started the set, I had 3 Sacrifice at Dusk. If you put in 3 of the same type of a sacrifice piece, it'll just, because it can't take more than 1 of the same type, it'll just take them out 1 at a time. So it's a good reminder that, you know, when you put a map in, if there's no sacrifice pieces in there, it's time to sexton again, because three sack pieces, 3 sextons, 3 maps, very well synergized in that sense. And you can just put them all in at once, and you don't have to worry about putting one map and one sacrifice piece in every time. So that's really smooth, and I really like that. So for instance, if I put this one in, I open it again, it just takes it one out at a time, and then the next time I put in a map, it'll just take that last piece out, and then it'll be time to sexton. Let's actually take a look at this map and see if I procced prophecy. I didn't. So it is rare for me to not proc prophecy with all 3 of these going, and I would say it happens probably 1 in every 5 or 6 maps where I don't get any of my prophecies proc. So that was pretty unlucky there. Maybe I should restart the video so you guys don't see that, but that's fine. Important to be realistic. I think that's pretty much it. Apart from, yeah, like I said, Harbinger. Harbinger is pretty good. It does cost 4 chaos per map, 4 veils as well if the map's corrupted. But you do get a lot of returns in terms of maps and general currency, but also the shards. I've made a couple of exalts off shards. I just sold all my annulments for like 32 chaos each, I think. Very expensive at the moment because of all the multi-modding that's going on. Ancient orbs, 11 chaos each. Harbingers, I'm not sure how much these are, but they usually sell for a little bit. You get orbs of binding, which doesn't sound that good, but you can actually use them as an alch on maps, which is kind of useful. But I don't think you apparently can't use them on strongboxes as alchs, which is interesting. You also get engineers, horizons, which is kind of like not that great, but they're useful sometimes as well. And you can sell them in bulk too if you want to do that. So overall, that's all I'm doing to sustain. I'm not using any. Once again, I'm not using any Scarabs. And hopefully, like I said, depending on the map that you're doing and how much inherent density it has on the map, the less of these sort of things you need to be doing to sustain. But you can definitely sustain without Scarabs on any map that you choose to run. So you just pick whatever map that you enjoy the most, and you can just run that all day and not have to flip-flop between T15 shapes. I was doing shaped belfries for a while as my only tier 15, and flip-flopping to sustain toxic sewers. But then I started picking up prophecies and running Harbinger, and I found that it was definitely a lot more fun for me, because it just meant that I only had to run toxic sewers, and it's also very profitable because I changed my my only T15 to tower. I only changed it recently. I think I changed it 2 days ago. Yeah, but really more like a day and a half ago. And I've already got all of these towers, as well as some more towers over here. And those are 11 or 12 chaos each if you sell them in bulk, I think, at the moment. So that's probably almost 2,000 chaos just from tower maps right there. So it can be very profitable for sure. And yeah, hopefully you guys learn something, and you may be a little bit more confident to maybe change up your atlas a little bit. In that, you know, maybe you start running T16 maps, or you stop flip-flopping, or you know, whatever you want to do, or you maybe change to a different layout that has perhaps less density but has a more enjoyable layout for you to run. Anyway, yeah, I hope this helped. And oh, okay, before I go, I'll show you guys. This is a little extra treat for you guys. I will show you guys this this website here, poeapp.com. So I've actually already got a search set up, but I'll show you. poeapp.com. If you do want to buy prophecies, this is probably the best site for doing it. Not many people seem to know about poeapp.com as a buy and trading website for Path of Exile, but you can bulk buy prophecies. So if I want to pay chaos, and I go down to prophecies, and I look for, let's say, monstrous treasure. Let's say I want to buy monstrous treasure. You can enter like a minimum stock. So let's say if I want to buy 5, This guy has exactly 5. I guess they're kind of hard to come by in bulk, but he has 5 for 125C each, or you can search for like the Hungering Swarm or something, which is one of the ones I'm using. Here you go. This guy's got 7 for 1 chaos each. This guy's got 64 for 1.5 chaos each. Very nice for buying prophecies. You can just buy them in bulk as many as you want, within obviously the limits of how many people are selling. And this, click this little mail button here to copy it, and there it is right there. I actually chat while I'm in D&D, but you get the idea. So very nice for running prophecies if you want to bulk buy. And yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys. Oh, come check me on Twitch, twitch.tv/ck__. Bye, guys.